All right, we are back again. We are now going to look at subject-verb agreement. Sorry, grammatical concord. We are under our grammatical concord. We are looking at subject-verb agreement. Rule 2, where we have our S2 taking V2. That is a plural subject taking plural verb. Okay. Also, we have 8 examples here, and the 8 examples are divided into 2. So we have the first 4 and the second 4. So let us look at the first example. First example says, all her children resume school tomorrow. All her children resume school tomorrow. So we have all her children here is our is our S2. So you underline all her children. So when you underline all her children, you point your arrow downward in the second line. Your arrow is in the second line, pointing downward, and in the third line that is below the arrow, now you write your S2. So all our children becomes our plural subject. That's our S2. Then we have resume, or you underline resume, and then your arrow points downward in the second line, and the third line you write your V2. So there we have all our children is our S2, and it has taken resume as our V2. So our second example says schools resume today. So that one example, that one also you can see schools, that is plural. You underline schools, and then after underlining it, after underlining school, then your arrow points downward in the second line, and in the third line you write your S2. Then in the resume, then we have resume. You underline resume, that is third person plural verb. You underline it, and then in the second line, that's in the second line that is below resume, you draw your arrow downward. Your arrow is pointing at the third line, and then in the third line you write your V2. So we have our schools. It's our S2, and it has taken resume as our V2. You cannot say schools resumes today. No, it's schools resume today. That is our S2 takes V2. Okay, so we have we go to our example 3. Our example 3 says they preach virtues. They preach virtues. So you underline they, that is plural. And then in the second line, your arrow points downward, and the third line, you write your S2 there. And then for our V2, you underline preach. When your line preach, you point your arrow downward, and in the third line, you write your V2 there. So they is our S2, and it has taken preach as our V2. You cannot say the preaches. No, it is wrong. Go to our example 4. Our example 4 says, says they come here. Okay, they come here. You underline they, that's plural. You underline they, and then you point your arrow downward in the second line, and then in the third line you write your S2. So they becomes our S2. And then come. You underline come. When you underline come, you point your arrow downward in the second line, and then in the third line you write your V2. So we have come as our V2. So we have they come here, where we have they as our S2, and we have come as our V2. So let's go on 2 seconds break, and when we come back, when we come back or when we return, we take our 5, 6, 7, and 8 all together.